We have with us today a two-time Oscar nominee, winner of 3 Golden Globe Awards and dozens of other international accolades. He was the 5th sexiest man in 2009 according to People magazine. He's a successful musician, actor, film producer, and somewhere underneath that all, he is a father. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Toronto, Robert Downey Jr. So Robert, you are the 5th sexiest man in the world.
Yes, I
Do
am.
you consider yourself a sex symbol?
Well, after everything going on with Iron Man and having to bulk up with all that extra muscle, yeah, I'd say I am one.
And how's that Rachel McAdams?
She was
She's
really...
not doing too bad herself.
Yeah, that's for sure. She was really fun to work with, but, you know.
Now, you've had a hectic schedule the last couple of years. You've had Iron Man, you had Sherlock Holmes, and
Yep.
You've had a lot of movies in a row. So with that crazy schedule, how do you manage to find time to spend with your son Angel?
Well, it really helps that my wife, Susan Downey, was working as one of the co-producers on Sherlock Holmes. So it was amazing to wake up, be with her, then work on set with her, and then afterwards. So we got to spend a lot of time together, and because we were together, we were able to have our boy over and just spend a lot of time with him. And I'm really supportive of his music career and all the acting he does, so we go out whenever he's having stuff like that. I always find time for him because he's really important to me. So.
Do you find yourself, because he's kind of following in the footsteps of his dad and obviously his grandfather, do you find himself or yourself kind of teaching him or guiding him along the way? Or?
I'm trying my best to give him a little bit of the childhood that I wasn't able to have, but there's a lot of support, and I know that he does look up to me and learn a lot from me. It's not so much formal teaching as it's kind of, well, this is the kind of thing I do, and he's been on set a lot watching me act and perform. So.
Now, you say that the childhood you didn't have. Obviously, you were in your first movie, one of your fathers, at age 5.
Yep.
What did those experiences working in your father's movies do for you, your later career?
Well, it definitely helps. It just didn't really help my childhood. I couldn't really talk about what my dad was doing to other people. My mom would come pick me up in this huge quilted cape, and it was just utterly ridiculous, the kind of movies that he made. But it definitely influenced me to branch out and take those different kind of roles and adapt what I had learned and what my life experiences were into these roles.
Now, we've seen you on the big screen a lot lately, but your last television appearance was actually just a little stint on Family Guy a couple years back. I heard you did that just because your son likes the show.
Yeah, I was always on the phone with them, badgering them to let me write an episode or help produce it, be one of the voice actors, anything, because my son was so into it. So I eventually landed a role as the Fat Man Strangler. Which I have to say is one of my favorite episodes, not just because I was in it, but because of all the backstory and everything around it.
That was obviously your first appearance since Ally McBeal. Are we going to see Robert Downey Jr. on TV again?
To be honest, I don't believe so. There's a lot going on in the Marvel Universe. We've got Iron Man coming out on May 17th. There is going to be a 3rd Iron Man. We are going to be working at the Avengers. And like a lot of people saw in The Incredible Hulk, I did have a little appearance there, and that will continue throughout all the Marvel comics. So I'm going to be very busy on the big screen. Sherlock Holmes is going to have a sequel. So there's just going to be a lot.
We'll talk about your upcoming movies in a bit, but you've done it all. You've done movies, television, some producing, some writing. But a lot of people don't know that you had a short stint in the music business for a while there, and you released an album called The Futurist in 2004. Has that just taken a backseat to your acting for now?
Well, I mean, I've done some stuff on soundtracks as well for the movies I've worked on, but I put a lot of effort, a lot of heart and soul into that album, and the amount of energy I've invested and put in, it really didn't pay back. So at the moment, it's just kind of off to the side. I am still writing, but at the same time, it's not something I want to invest that much energy into.
They obviously wrote that album after a long, well-documented period of arrests, legal troubles that I'm forced to bring up. So I have to ask you, how have your rougher days inspired you in the current day?
Well, a lot of my old roles, my first roles, there was a lot of influence. There was a lot of parallels. When I was in Less Than Zero, one of my characters very much mimicked my current situation. It also helps me really to relate to Tony Stark. He does have an alcohol abuse problem. He does have a lot of addiction issues. So it really helps me to bring him to life and basically just make him not into that goody-goody, all of a sudden he's going to turn from this rotten guy to someone who's doing good. I made it real because I made it real.
Do you find it odd how, is it just a coincidence that these roles seem to be mirroring your life through your entire career, starting at Less Than Zero and right up until the role as Tony Stark? Why, of all your roles, fit so perfectly into Robert Downey Jr. the man?
To be honest, I'm not quite sure. I'm not the kind of person who reads scripts. I generally will say, okay, this person's producing it, this person's in it, I've worked with them before, or I'm really inspired by them, and I just take the roles. Don't really plan out that kind of thing. But it just happens. It's just, usually it's one character trait, one little accent, something like that that's going to make it work. But for some reason, people seem to enjoy it, and then Iron Man came out, and everyone was all up for me, so.
You know, lately it seems that a lot of talk has gone about your performance as playing peculiar roles. In particular, one that gained notoriety was your role in Tropic Thunder as a black man. Is it tough for a white person to play a black person on stage? What sort of preparation do you need to go through?
To be honest, there was a lot of research that went into it. I profiled myself on a lot of different actors, but the main thing was getting that accent. And once that accent was right, I just went from there. Everything else came easy. I just knew going into the role that there's going to be special effects, so all the black makeup, the wig, but it was all just that accent, basing everything around the accent. It was actually a rumor spread that off actual filming, I would go around talking about chicken wings and watermelons and all of those regular stereotypes to one of the co-stars, but nah, it was just, once we were in that role, it was good to go. Ben Stiller and I were really worried that there'd be a lot of controversy, but that's not where the controversy came from. People understood that it was a joke, so we did very well with that.
Okay, well, I have to get to my last question. So I guess I'll ask you about, you got Iron Man 2. It's coming up in a couple months.
Mm-hmm.
And, Robert Downey Jr., when a lot of, people your age think about him, they think of somebody that was kind of bred from the past, bred from the late 80s and the 90s. And Iron Man has really helped you cement a reputation with a more youthful audience. Do you think that coming back as Iron Man and Sherlock Holmes, do you think that kids are starting to like Robert Downey Jr.?
To some extent they are. It's really funny to see people from my generation asking me and being really excited with it. So it's getting all the younger audience, but it's also getting the kids out of the older audience. And I think it's doing something really well. It's revamping a series, and it's getting people inspired to see these kinds of things and break out these kinds of things. So.
Okay, Robert, it's been great.
Thank you.
Thank you.